grammar lessons should you study to improve your English speaking? Let's talk about that in this English lesson. If you don't know me very well, hello, I'm Teacher Prix, and I'm going to help you talk to anyone, anywhere, anytime in English. Consider subscribing to the channel because every week I post different kinds of English lessons to help you become a better and more confident English speaker. So I appreciate you being part of this beautiful community. I think there's something in my eye. Let me see. No, there isn't. It's all good. But let's talk about it. Grammar. Do you like to study grammar? Tell me in the chat. Tell me in the comments if you enjoy studying grammar or if you hate studying grammar. Which side are you on? Now, guys, at a pre-intermediate level, you can't escape it, okay? But here is the catch. You can't just study anything or focus heavily on grammar. There's got to be some sort of balance. And at this moment forward, you will have to choose the grammar lessons more carefully if you want to improve your English speaking. Because I know that's probably why you're here. Okay, I want to improve my English speaking, Teacher Prix. So what do I need to do to be able to do that? You will have to choose your grammar lessons more carefully. And that leads me to the question, which matters most, what or how? What lessons you study or how you study the grammar lessons? In my opinion, how you study grammar matters more, okay? Because depending on how you study, you're gonna waste your time or even make you stuck when it's time to speak, you know, in meetings, at work, when traveling. So it's important to understand how to use the grammar lessons strategically, and I will talk about them. So here in this video, I will share what I feel are essential grammar lessons you need to study moving forward as a pre-intermediate, intermediate student, how you can get even better, how you can level up your English. And I will also show you how to use those lessons so that you can have really efficient results, okay? So first and foremost, to get out of the intermediate zone, you don't need to bombard yourself with grammar lessons. Oh, I'm gonna study grammar for 2 hours a day, then I'm going to do some grammar exercises. No, I don't do that with my students in my academy. I don't do that with myself because to be fluent, you need to follow the virtuous circle of fluency, which is something I talk about on my channel with my students from my academy. I am a big advocate of connecting the English skills so that you can build up the conversational fluency you're looking for and the comprehension you're looking for. Now, you will have to study grammar. You can't escape that, but do not exaggerate. Your choices of what lessons to study and how you study them will matter more. That being said, you will have to go back to previous grammar points you studied and add more information. Guys, I like to say that present, past, and future are the foundation of communication. And it doesn't matter whether you've been studying English for 1 year, 2 years, 10 years, or 20, like I am. I'm even more than 20. Oh my God, am I old or what? A little bit over 20. It doesn't matter how long you've been studying English, present, past, and future are the foundation of communication. So it's important to pay attention to these tenses. So if you still catch yourself making past mistakes or future mistakes, if you're always using will, nothing wrong with will, because fluency is communication. Pay attention. I'm not saying you will stop making mistakes. But if you catch yourself always using the very same thing, the very basic thing, then it's a sign that you have to go back and study. And it's okay. It's normal. I have studied the past, the present, and future hundreds of times. And each time I study the present, each time I study the past, each time I study the future, I add a little bit more information. So pay attention to the constant mistakes you make. So if you make a lot of simple past mistakes, that means you have to study simple past more. If you make a lot of present mistakes, then you have to study present more. present perfect continuous. But even the most basic tenses like present, past, and future, so many students confuse them. Many students use the present when they should be using future. I have seen students at an intermediate level using present when they should be using future, and a very specific type of future. So this is very common. It is natural that you still find yourself making mistakes with tenses. They look easy. Oh, I learned this when I was a beginner. Yeah, but you're not a beginner anymore. There are more nuances, more details that you didn't uncover when studying at a basic level. And here, as the title of the video suggests, you want to improve your English speaking. So you will need to master more technical aspects of each tense and more. There are more tenses. But in a nutshell, present, past, and future will have to be present, whether you like it or not. And remember, I will talk about how you should study, so stay with me until the end. Moving on. Sentence order. Oh man, what a nightmare. This is something you should definitely study. Sentence order. And there is a basic sentence order. You know, when my students join my academy, this is one of the first lessons I give them, sentence order. I cover the basics, types of words, things that they ignore that are irrelevant, and then I move on to sentence order. Because if you don't know how to put the words in the right place, people will be extremely confused when you speak English. And consequently, your confidence level will drop dramatically because you will always have that feeling that people stop you too many times. They look confused, and that always leads to a lack of confidence on our end because you feel bad. Every time I speak, people look at me, they frown, and they're like, "Say that again." No, again. So sentence order can impact the listener's comprehension. And you could say, oh, this is connected to the tenses. Not necessarily, okay? So we have the tenses, present, past, and future, present perfect, past continuous, present continuous, and its variations. But then the sentence order is understanding where the words go. And students don't pay attention to that. You can really confuse a listener. And as you advance, as you are, as I said, here on my channel, I help students at an intermediate level. But as you are progressing and trying to reach a more advanced level and speak more fluently, improve your flow, you will see that there are more explanations about the sequence that you need to follow. So it's essential that you pay attention to how you organize the words, where you put them matter. And this, depending on your nationality, depending on where you're from, this may be a huge challenge for you because the way you structure sentences in your language may be completely different in English. When I was visiting Morocco, I was talking to the tourist guide, and sometimes I would ask him, oh, translate this to Arabic to me. And it was like a word or two. Look at the complexity. The languages are very different. So depending on your native language, you may not fully understand the position of certain words and why you have to use so many words to describe one idea. So it's very important to add sentence order in your repertoire. Brazilian, Spanish people, we have a very similar, Italian also, French also, we have similar, not the same, we have a very similar sentence order pattern. But what is the problem with these people? We want to do what we do in our language, we want to do it in English. And that's where the problem starts. You can't do the same. Just because there are similarities between Spanish and Italian and French and the English language, that's what I mean, in Portuguese, doesn't mean you can do the same. So there you are. You literally translate something from your native language using the same order, trying to do that in English. Native speakers will be confused, rightfully so, because that's not how they do it. So you should study this on a regular basis because it will impact your ability to communicate with other people. And before I continue, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button. You know, every week there's something new around here. So I know you're going to like this channel. And if you're interested in more organization ideas, I have a study plan that I created with that in mind. Help students understand how to connect all the English skills to make them more fluent, to speed up their learning process. But let's keep going, shall we? Connectors. Fluent people connect their ideas properly. Their sentences have a better flow. Now, is it connected to sentence order? In a way. But as you advance, you will need to include other connectors, other conjunctions. So it's paramount that you understand how to use them in conversations, especially if you're trying to sound more advanced. Obviously, you will need to analyze the context and understand, is it appropriate for me to use hence? Is it appropriate for me to use therefore? Is it appropriate for me to use thus? I need to analyze context, levels of formality, and connectors. They play a huge role in that aspect. Also, one thing that will show that you're not such a beginner anymore is your ability to connect ideas, which is something an advanced student, a fluent student, someone with a better speaking skill will do more smoothly. The flow is better compared to a beginner. So this is something that you have to study on a regular basis. This is grammar. This is not vocabulary. Don't be confused. Oh, I just know the meaning of therefore. Now I know how to use it. No, you need to study the explanation. You need to create examples. I will talk more about that further later on. So that is grammar, and it's your bread and butter, guys. If you want to be more advanced, you gotta study connectors, okay? I'm using the word connectors, but there may be other terms, okay, of course. But the idea is there are words, and we learn the grammar aspects of those words that help us connect sentences in a conversation in written and oral language, okay? Moving on. How to ask questions. Also something you need to master as someone who wants to improve. If you want to speak more confidently in a conversation, not a 100%, okay, but half of the time you're answering questions, the other half you're probably asking a kind of question, showing interest in what the person is saying. Therefore, it's really important to master the art of asking questions, and that is grammar. And questions become longer and more complex the more advanced you become, and the more advanced the subjects you study become. Hence the importance of studying how to ask questions. So the more you advance, the more complicated the questions. Not that they're getting complicated, but they get a little longer. What do you like to do in your free time? That's a very easy question. Common, popular, people talk about it, but that is more basic. So you need to advance your level of question making. That is something you have to be studying, how to ask questions, okay? This goes back to tenses, which is something I talked about right at the beginning of this lesson. It's connected to tenses. So when I'm studying the past, how can I practice asking advanced questions in the past? You can use ChatGPT to give you some examples. Oh, give me 5 examples of advanced questions in the past about technology. You need to give the right commands, okay? In my book, 20 speaking exercises to improve your English speaking alone, I give you some ideas on how to use ChatGPT. Make sure to get it. The link is in the description of this video as well. Check it out, okay? So you will need to spend some time checking out how to ask questions, creating examples, and I will give you more instructions on how to study, okay? Which is right now. Teacher, how should I study grammar to improve my speaking? Because I told you what? These points I mentioned here in this lesson are essential. Of course, you can study more lessons. You can study comparatives, superlatives, how to describe equality. There's so many things you can study. But if you're asking me if you want to improve your English speaking, these are the guys. Do that. Include these grammar points on a weekly basis, not all of them in 1 week, but my study plan can help you with that, but you can pick one subject per week. That is one step. But what do I do with my students to help them understand how to include grammar in their practice to make them speak better, to improve their speaking? When I create a lesson in my academy is an online program. When I created the lessons, I designed each lesson focusing on conversation. So each lesson focuses on a conversation subject. For example, this is module 6 in my academy, and I call it icebreakers. Of course, at an intermediate advanced level. It's not for beginners, okay? So I review asking questions, and the context of the module is to make small talk, which is really a good idea if you're trying to improve your English speaking. You need to be able to make small talk. This, every time I travel abroad to the United States, to England, people make small talk with me. I am in a tourist attraction, at a tourist site, and people start talking. That's small talk. And how do you make small talk? You start with a casual question. Question. See? That's grammar. So I review the grammar points, the explanations they need to study, and what is their next job? Create questions, but not just any question. They need to contextualize their questions, thinking of small talk. And then after this part, they have vocabulary, they have reading, they have listening and speaking connected to small talk, making small talk. So this is the part that many students don't pay attention to. It's not just watch a lesson and bye, bye, Miss America. No, you have to take action after you watch the grammar lesson. And when I say watch, maybe you read the grammar lesson in a book. No problems. You can choose. You can watch a grammar video. You can read a grammar lesson. It doesn't really matter. So after you did that, your next step is, okay, how can I connect this lesson with my life and with a conversation subject? Because every week you should think of, what can I talk about this week? That is much more productive than just watching a lesson. And in many cases, you shouldn't say, oh, but I do the grammar book exercises. You can do them. I'm not saying you should stop. But still, it is more productive when you force your brain to create. Because fluent people create. They don't copy. They don't have time to copy. You have to create your own sentences. When you're talking, you don't have time to check or to complete a phrase in a book when it's time to speak. So by creating written and oral examples, you're conditioning your brain to use what you study. And that's what fluent people do. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to share it with someone, subscribe to the channel. But other than that, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!